Welcome to Muslims Doing Things, a podcast about extraordinary Muslims and their career journeys. This episode's a little bit different. If you're looking at the audio, you can tell that I'm actually in person today because today's guest is a friend who's been a friend for a while, but we actually have not spent a lot of time on his career. I just know he does a lot of very cool stuff. So Ali, what do you do?
Oh, that's a very loaded question. Hello, audience, watchers, listeners. What do I do? I guess to sum it up very easily, I'm just a filmmaker based in Los Angeles. You know, and that's about it. And then I do a lot of I hate the term content, but I'll do content. I've done podcasts, I've done like digital media stuff, I've done YouTube stuff, but like my full-time job is working in television, So right now, currently I'm a full-time producer at MTV. I am, I guess, responsible for having ridiculousness on air for the last 12, 13 years. Like literally, if you turn on MTV right now, it's
only you are MTV.
Yeah, I fell asleep in the control room and I just hit the ridiculousness
Nobody's
button.
gone back to change it.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what I do. That's who I am. I'm yeah. It's always like a packed question,
It's funny. It's always a hard question to ask for people who do multiple things.
Yeah.
Because
do you hate doing multiple things? Like, do you hate where you're like, oh man, I'm like all over, but are you like, I'm glad I do it because I'm very expressive.
Down.
Like I can express myself this way. And
I love it. But when people ask me what I do, I just say logistics. Like I pick the most boring term that elicits the least amount of conversation.
Yeah.
And I'm like, logistics. And they're like, oh,
whenever
I'm done asking.
Whenever I would go to like events or like places where it's not like a film networking thing, it's just like in a Muslim space or like a network space, I would tell people I'm a healthcare consultant.
Well, that's one way to kill a conversation.
Yeah, exactly. Because no one wants to follow.
Who wants to know you're the ridiculousness guy? They even have so many questions. Like, are you liable when somebody screws up?
Exactly. There's so many like questions. Like, yeah, but then I'm like, once you say you're a healthcare consultant, no one cares.
Same with logistics, by the way. In case you need something to say.
Okay, but like logistics and tech.
I just say logistics. That's it.
Okay.
People are going to do. I'm like, I work in logistics. No questions.
In my head, when I hear that, I think a film producer or a television producer, because that's a lot of producers just are like logistics.
Yeah, no. Well, turns out that sounds boring too because nobody asks.
Yeah.
But let's go way back because you've been doing this forever. First of all, where were you born? And guys, if the audio is funky, don't judge me. This is my first in person. I've had the craziest week. We had no childcare. And Ali and I were going to talk about some cool work he was doing. And I literally forced him to sit down and record a podcast. So this is a judge-free zone. Now back to the podcast. Where were you born?
I want it to be a judgmental zone. Oh, judge you free. Yeah.
Judge me?
Don't judge you.
Oh, you're allowed to judge Ali, but not me.
Yeah.
Cool.
I love critical. I love judgment, because I'm a very judgmental person.
Okay.
I judge everyone.
It's good. Off to a good start.
But yeah, I was born in Northern Virginia.
Okay.
To two Afghan refugee parents.
Okay.
My parents came here because of the Soviet War, and they settled in Northern Virginia. All my family kind of settled there, and then I grew up there, went to school there, and then somewhere and I grew up just watching films. Like my uncles, like when everyone moved, we were all like under one house. So like growing up, for like a 7-8-year-old, I was watching not even 7, dude. I was like 5 to 6. I was watching a lot of Scorsese films. I remember vividly watching Casino and watching a man be beaten.
It's very bizarre that you remember that it was a Scorsese film when you were like 7.
Well, I didn't realize what the movie was until I got older, but I remember a vivid image of
this is great cinematography.
Man, I remember in these because his scenes are very jarring. And I remember 2 scenes from 2 movies, Goodfellas and Casino. One, I remember that stuck with me my whole life. They put this guy's head in a vice and they're squishing it together, torturing him, getting answers. And then later in that movie, and I remember
that made you want to get into film.
No, I just
I was like, where are we headed with this?
But growing up, that's what I was exposed to. I'm watching these films because my uncles would rent it. Yeah,
of course, Blockbuster.
Friday
night.
And I don't know how it is on a lot of immigrant households, but violence and profanity perfectly
Oh,
acceptable.
my mom is so crunchy. We didn't even have TV.
Oh, wow.
She got rid of it. She's like, this sucks. And literally, we did not have TV growing up, which is why my husband, who's an immigrant who moved here when he was 6 or 7, knows all these pop culture references. And I have no clue what he's
Oh,
talking
that's
about.
so
And he's like,
funny.
I don't understand
That's
how
so
you were
funny.
born in SoCal.
That's hilarious. Because like we were just glued to the TV.
Yeah.
So we were allowed violence and profanity, perfectly acceptable.
But that was also
sex.
a thing.
Sex is where like the line is drawn.
That's like, that's classic like 80s,
Exactly.
90s TV.
Yeah.
Like violence was not
like
a thing.
It's not like they were fine with me watching a man be beaten to death, beaten with baseball bats and then buried alive. And I was like,
but also you said they escaped the Soviet War.
Yeah. I mean, my dad even fought in the like he fought against the Soviets.
This on TV.
Yeah, and then I remember in like Goodfellas, the opening scene, there's a guy in the trunk, and I remember them just stabbing this man in the trunk, and those scenes just stuck with me.
It sounds a little traumatic, Ali. I'm not gonna lie.
It was as a kid. Oh my, because I thought that would happen to me. I mean, I thought I would be the guy in the trunk, or I would be the guy, and I would go to school and I would tell kids like, yeah, I'm gonna put your head between the things, and
I'm sure that went well. This young Afghani boy.
Yeah, threatening a lot of the kids. But no, like my uncles like exposed me to a lot of like whatever they were watching, I'm watching with them. So whether it was like Van Damme films, Jackie Chan films, Bruce Lee films, or like a lot of these like gangster films, like I'm watching whatever they're watching. But at the same time, my sister's watching Little Mermaid. So anyways, I spent a lot of my
You're
childhood.
exposed. You had a breadth, I think is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. So I growing up, I just was very immersed into film.
Okay.
And that was like the only thing my dad and I would always have, like even now, like we don't really have too much in common, but like it's like, hey, there's a good film out.
Right.
Let's go on, So anyways, somewhere in the line of like college, I wanted to go to I was working for this congressional this member of Congress on Capitol Hill in the House of Representatives. Yeah, Peak Nova DC DMV job. And I was working for this congressman, Republican congressman, but like I was an intern. I needed what I can get,
like whatever.
So and I'm working there and I'm like, all right, I want to fall into like law and then maybe pursue politics down the line. Mm-hmm. And, I'm touring some law schools in the area and I'm like really like just unhappy. Like I'm taking the train from Virginia to DC every day. I'm walking into Capitol Hill in the rotunda and I'm like seeing this history and art. And I'm just like, I don't want to be here, man.
This is such a classic like Muslim creative journey of our generation where we're like, we're probably going to do law. 'Cause for me, it's like, I'm not scientific, so I'll probably do law.
Yeah.
Then I dip my toe and I'm like, this kind of sucks.
Yeah.
And like, it's like, I don't think I'm very good at it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, what am I going to do? I don't know.
Yeah. And at the time I was really into like these, very like avant-garde photography blogs. And this was like before Tumblr. This was like, this was during the financial crisis, the 2008 thing. So like, cause my congressman was on the government reform hearing and I would go and like sit behind him on the benches just so I can get my picture in the Washington Post. I'm like, I don't know what these guys are talking about. And then I would go in the office and just like scroll through like these art blogs, photography blogs. Right. And I was really infatuated and I love like just like pop art. And I was like, at the time, I love storytelling. I love like, and within Afghan culture, and I'm sure within Iraqi culture, oral storytelling plays a big part in the culture. So I was like, if I can take my passion for storytelling and pair that up with dope artistic images, that's what I want to do. Yeah. I was like, first I was like, let me do photography. And then quickly I was like, oh no, because I wanted to get into photography. I was like, maybe that's what I want to do, like art photography, not like portrait photography, but like very avant-garde style.
Right. Streetwear.
And then I watched a movie that completely messed me up, and that was Requiem for a Dream.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah, right?
Super trippy movie.
Traumatizing film.
Was it niche? Did nobody watch it except a few people, and everybody who did couldn't stop talking about it?
Must have been.
Is that true? I feel like not many people have seen it, but maybe I didn't grow up with TV. I know nothing about pop culture, but I did see that movie.
Yeah.
And I've never seen
it's traumatizing.
Godfather. I've seen that movie.
Oh my God. You never watched The Godfather?
No, and I never will, or Star Trek or Star Wars.
Let's pause on the never will.
Oh, I don't have the attention. I didn't grow up with TV. I don't have the attention span.
Last week, two of my friends were like, they've never watched The Godfather.
You did not make them sit down and watch it. You're that friend?
I didn't just make them sit down and watch it. You guys can't see here, but what I did, hold on one second. I'm going to have to pull this up. I'm going to show the viewers. I had a whole slot, like,
is that a projector?
I had a whole projector. Let me show the
you guys.
viewers.
I think the episode is over because Ali's gonna make me watch this freaking movie that I have no intention.
I had a whole projector of the timeline, the characters, because the thing about The Godfather is it's a 3-hour film.
3 hours?
It's 3 hours.
Oh goodness!
It's a slow burn. But once the film starts, they just start saying names of like characters you won't see for 2 hours into the film.
Sounds investigative.
You know, so they'll be like talking about like, we're going to hit Tatalia's guys and Barzini. And you're like, wait, who's Tatalia? Who's Barzini? Who's Salazzo? And you won't see these guys for an hour, you know? So what I do for first-time viewers, I do a whole I put that together.
I can't believe that of all the things to bring up, all the years we've lived, it was The Godfather on this episode, which is an hour long at most.
I'm literally in like a few hours, I'm flying out of LA. But when I come back,
inshallah, I'm a mom now. So when I say inshallah, it means like 20% chance.
Bro,
inshallah.
I will come right when you put the kid. I will bring my projector.
Oh my goodness.
I will set it up and we have to watch it on Blu-ray. We can't stream. It has to be on Blu-ray. Blu-ray.
Like a CD?
Yeah, I have a Blu-ray player.
Mashallah.
You know, there's a DVD shop on Sawtell in Santa Monica, Cinephile. It's my go-to.
Yo, there's a Redbox at my 7-Eleven.
Redbox is just current films, you know? I need like, you know. But yeah, anyway, I will do a Godfather screening.
Sorry, guys. I just can't stop laughing because his Godfather screening is going to be higher, like, tech than this interview. I literally brought a filmmaker, sat him on my couch, put him in front of my MacBook. There's a random mic between us.
We're doing great.
I think it's pretty good.
I think it's fine, you know?
It's actually very good. Yeah.
I'm having fun. It's about having fun, you know?
I think so, yeah.
Audio is being recorded, right? Yeah.
It's being recorded.
I see the sound waves. No, I see that. As long as we see the sound waves.
Yeah.
I've done podcasts where I forgot to hit the record button and I'm like an hour in and I look down and I'm like, I'm flushed white.
You know the good thing? This podcast is so chill. I've never done that because I'm never nervous. Because I'm just like, oh, it's just my podcast. Ali, you want to come do my podcast? And you're like, I was just planning to have a conversation with you, but sure, we'll record.
A month ago, this is such a side tangent. A month ago, I was doing a podcast with a friend, me and my friend Fahim Anwar. He's a comedian.
Oh yeah, he's hysterical.
Yeah.
I should get him on the pod.
You should, yeah. We do a podcast. It's called the Fahim Anwar Dance Hour, and we started just doing it audio. Then we kind of went video, and then we're always on and off. And we were like, let's do our cut. It's been like almost a year since we recorded. Come to
your studio. What a mess. Anyway,
no, we don't have it. So we were like, we've taken a year off. Let's bring the podcast back. We bring this guy, a friend of ours, Aristotle from Saturday Night Live. We do this great 2-hour episode.
Don't tell me you didn't record it.
No, we have like 4 cameras. We got the 3 microphones. At the end, he's like, I grab all the memory cards and he's like, hand these memory cards to our editor that lives in like Westlake. I'm like, okay, great. I lost one of them. I lost the audio, not just any of the cards, the audio memory card. And 2 days go by and I'm like digging everywhere. And I'm asking him, did I leave it at your place? He's like, no, I'm flipping my car inside out. I'm flipping my apartment inside out. I'm like, how do I tell these guys? We filmed a great 2-hour episode.
Yeah, and you're that guy.
And then I turn to God.
Oh, mashallah. I like where this is headed.
I go on YouTube and I look up all the du'as for lost items. You know, like you make this dua if you lost something. And all the comments on, like, I'm going on 5 videos. Like different there's different du'as, you know?
You went to the comments to be like, no, actually amend the second half.
Dude, no, everyone in the comments was like, I said this dua and I found it within seconds. I said, and I go to a different video. I said this dua and I found what I was looking for in like seconds. So I'm like, okay. In my head, I'm like, maybe because we went to eat afterwards. I'm like, maybe I might have dropped it at the restaurant deep in the valley. Like we're in Encino Tarzana Valley. So I drive out there and I'm playing these duas, and like this is like 2 days later. I'm playing these duas and I'm like the next one. I park, I'll go inside the restaurant. I'm like, did you guys find a memory card? I'm looking on the floors. They're like, no. So I'm like, damn, man. I'm walking back to my car and I try to park in the same spot and there it is on the floor.
You have to be lying.
On God.
Dude, have to be lying.
I took a picture of it. The memory card is right there in the parking lot facing me.
You have to be lying.
I like the rush of iman that I got. I was
Yeah.
like, I'm Muslim. You know, if I was ever in doubt.
He did his shahada all over again.
Dude, I had this high where I was like, this. I said the door and I found it, and I'm racing back to Koreatown. It's like a 20-minute drive, and I plug it in. It doesn't work.
Oh gosh.
Oh man.
Did you?
I go to a data recovery place, and they're like one in Westwood. They're like, it's unrecoverable. I go to another one in Glendale, and these guys are like the highest rated on Yelp.
There's like 300 miles driven on this journey.
Yeah, I'm going all around town. I'm like, so I go to the spot in Glendale, highest rated place, and they're like, we will look at this, and if we can, it's going to be $600 to retrieve the data. I'm like, forget it. I'll pay it. I get an email later that day like, hey man, sorry. Like the actual card, like the memory's snapped in half. So I found the card. You know, anyways, I say all that to say I've been in situations where I haven't recorded, I lost a memory card. But you know, this is chill.
This is great. We're doing great. So you're talking about your journey.
Yeah. Godfather
you were
aside.
Be a visual.
Yeah. So
this is before Tumblr. That's what you were.
And then I watched Requiem for a Dream, and it like genuinely to my soul disturbed me.
Yeah, it's very disturbing.
And I was young. I was like 18 years old when I watched it. You know, like what do I know about? I've never seen addiction. I've never experienced any of these things in my life. But I know how I felt after I watched that.
And you wanted to do that.
I was like, I want to disturb people the way I feel disturbed right now. And I was like, and now, like from there, I was like, I'm going to film school, you know?
So
and
you just knew.
Yeah.
And it's funny. This is before Muslims were given the green light to be creative. Like people just weren't getting jobs, frankly. It was the very beginning. Yeah.
And at the time I was like rallying like the kids at my masjid to do short and I'm filming these little short films all around DC. The cops once like got involved, and my parents thought I'm being sent to Guantanamo and all that. And
it could have been a possibility at that time. Things were wild.
Oh yeah. So like I'm getting in trouble filming, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to film school. My parents are like, no. I apply. I get in. They're like, no. I apply for financial aid. They're like, no. I book a ticket to the school in Chicago for me and my dad. And I was like, look, I paid for the ticket and the hotel. Might as well go. Yeah. Like, all right, we'll go. We go. And then like, it was like a snowball thing. Right. Once the snowball picks up and it's like just moving fast, there's like, what do we do? You know?
Right.
So I do film school for a bit. And then right when I graduate, I got an internship at Nickelodeon. So I moved to LA, moved to North Hollywood, started my internship there. And then right after the internship, a couple months kind of go by, and I'm like just doing freelance stuff here and there. And a friend of mine, he like manages comedians and other folks, and he was like, hey, I have this guy who just moved to LA and he's looking for a camera guy.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, I'll do anything as long as it pays. Like I got like $20 in my account.
Yeah.
If this guy pays, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, he has a YouTube channel. He has like a couple 100,000 subscribers. And then I start working with this guy, and from like 500,000, we take it to like 10 million.
This is FouseyTube.
Yeah. And that like took off over like the course of like a couple years. And then towards the end, during this like.
And at that time when it's taking off, are you figuring out the strategy? Are you just doing the camera? Or are you doing some of the strategies?
So I'm doing so I'm doing like the producing and the camera of like, cause he'll be like, and I try to like, my thing was like to sanitize it. He'd be like, I want to do this and this. Or I'm like, that's racist, you know? Let's just tweak these things. Right. And then because a lot of these like YouTubers, and especially
they're pretty out of control.
Yeah, especially like Muslim YouTubers are very like outrageous. Like they'll do like homophobic things, racist
things. There's like a genre around like terrible macho boy YouTube, and I'm not saying that's a genre you're saying, but there's a genre. It's like what's that dude's name, Dave Dobrik or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Like there's just definitely a genre that like sells, that people consume, and I don't know that it was a part of that.
No, and I think we definitely leaned into that. Because this guy Yusuf was, you know, he had a lot of issues with like his own physical appearance, but like at a lot of times he was this very well built guy, muscular guy, wealthy guy in LA. Arab Muslim, and he lived this very like like to the viewers,
extraordinary,
life.
like,
And a
lavish
lot of
life.
these like 14, 15-year-old kids are like,
Yeah.
that's what I want.
Yeah.
And on video, he had this level of confidence. Like when we were doing these pranks, they were all fake, but like whenever we would do these pranks, it was like this bravado that he had, this like charisma.
They're fake?
Oh, you didn't know this?
I mean,
Yeah, man. So my job was to hire the actors.
what?
And then me and Yusuf would like sit at like a coffee. We'd go to Earth Cafe.
Oh
you
my
know?
gosh, before it became like a global
Oh,
franchise.
I feel like it was then. This was like 2013, 14. We would sit at Earth Cafe and we'd be like, all right, so the first guy's got to fight you. The second guy's got to do this. And we would list out the reactions we wanted.
Wow.
Then we would then I would like go online, cast these people.
And you'd have to cast different people for every video or people will be on
Yeah. Different people.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah. And, we would film it because first we were doing it for real. We were going out to like Irvine Spectrum, the Promenade, Venice Beach. We would try to film these pranks, and then you realize people are very passive. Like if you jump scare someone, they're just gonna like be like look at you and be like, oh.
Yeah.
We wanted the whoa, like flipping over chairs.
I wouldn't do that.
So first we're like, all right, maybe we just like this dude's watching. I'm like, hey, we'll pay you $5 if you just yell and run.
You're kidding me.
So one guy did it and we're like, oh, that was easy. All right, let's. And then we reached like 2-3 videos in, we reached this popularity where people were like, Boosie Tube, oh my God.
Oh, so you had to have actors.
So then,
people knew who he was.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
So then we were
he got real famous.
Yeah. And then like literally within a span of like 3-4 videos, we went from like no one really only Muslims recognizing us to like everyone, like non-Muslims.
What was the follower point in which people started really recognizing?
I think right when we crossed like 1 million.
Yeah.
We hit because
were there a lot of people with 1 million subs back then on YouTube?
No.
This is like 20.
This was 2013.
Yeah.
Literally that and right into that year it was like, whoa, we hit 1 million.
Yeah, Fousey's prime was like early YouTube. And
so my job would be like, I would literally drive around LA to find quiet neighborhoods, quiet parks, like where I'm like, we could film here at like 2 p.m. on a Thursday.
No one know.
Yeah. And then so I would hire the actors. We all roll up to the park.
Wow.
Over time, we made it a very well-oiled machine where I would space everyone out. All our videos took 2 hours to film. I would tell you to come at 2 p.m. I'd tell the next person come at 2:30.
Right.
Space them out. You come in, sign this NDA. All right, this is the thing, blah, blah, blah.
NDA?
Oh yeah. Dude, we're on another, again, well-oiled machine.
I mean, it's not easy to get to 10 million followers.
Yeah. And, they would come in and be like, all right, this is what you got to do. Like Yusuf's over there. He's going to like scare you, whatever, or he's going to chase you. You're going to react. All right, sign this. Here's your $20. And then we'd be like, all right, do that again, but be a little bit, some people would be so bad where me and Yusuf are like, so we would cast 10 people. Every week we would do 10 people. And then we would just choose like 6 of the best reactions.
What was the budget for these videos?
It would range. If we're doing something very simple, there'd be like a couple $100, maybe 200 at most, and sometimes we'd be like, oh, we need like props or costumes, sometimes we would need like not permits, but like locations. And
right. And you were being paid by the video, or were you being paid based on the followers?
No, I was paid like a set rate,
Yeah. Was that like, if it's too much to talk about, feel free not to answer, but does that become hard when you're helping somebody grow an audience? Because I'm thinking about venture capital, right?
100%. Because it was one of those. Did you ever watch the movie Nightcrawler with Jake Gyllenhaal and Riz Ahmed?
I've seen like one. Oh man, I like Riz Ahmed. I should watch that.
Yeah, I love it because it's an LA film where like LA plays a character in the film.
I need to watch that. I've seen like 3 films in my life. And that's gonna be the 4th.
And a lot of it takes place in Koreatown, so it's like within the neighborhood, and I love watching it. Anyways, it was one of those situations where like we started off, and I was like, again, broke, hungry, and he was like, I'll pay you this amount.
You're like, sure.
And I'm like,
but
sure.
Then you've set a precedent. It's very hard to break out of that.
And then this guy's making millions of dollars, and I'm still being paid what we agreed like 2 years ago. So
I can imagine if you're not comfortable again not talking about it. I'm happy to.
No, I'm fine with it.
If I were in your shoes, that sounds very challenging because I see what influencers get paid. I see what YouTubers get paid, and it's no freaking joke.
Bro, I would, and it was one of those things where it's like, you see how you're being exploited, and you're like, you're not in a position of power because you throw a rock and you're hitting 3 camera guys in LA, you know?
Yeah.
So you're like, well, I can easily be replaced like that.
You're disposable.
Yeah, and that's capitalism for you, you know? And so
it's funny because what I've known about you, so me and Ali are friends. I would say we've been acquaintances for a long time, and recently have invested in our friendship. But really, I knew you as the Fousey Tube guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you were one of the people who made it happen.
Yeah, and we, you know, and it was a fun ride. You know, well, actually, I wouldn't say fun because
You
a
learned
lot
a
of it
lot.
would just be like, we need to get this done. A lot of deadlines, a lot of like, you know, and so the payment would suck because it's like, well, you know, like I'm struggling out here, but also at the same time, I was, you know, I'd be doing other projects, other works. I'd get like contracts to do like other productions, you know. I'm still kind of like filming little commercials here, little music videos here, you know. But anyways, that kind of like we built up, and then someone I was at Nickelodeon with, an intern that I was at Nickelodeon with, was like, hey, she went to MTV and she's like, we're hiring, you know, a producer. We're looking for a producer. Are you down? I'm like, yeah, sure. Here's my resume. Let me know what happens. Months go by, I get a call, and all they had to say was health insurance. I was like, oh, I am sold, you know? Yeah.
Wait, did they know it was for ridiculousness? At that point? Yeah. And so they're like, you're the obvious.
Yeah. So
obvious pick.
And I was like, yeah.
And did you have to quit what you were doing to do it, or were you moved on by then?
Yeah, I was like at the tail end of it, you know?
Did you know it was the tail end, or did it become the tail end?
No. Yeah. No, it was definitely Yusuf, you know, bless the man, he struggled a lot with like mental health.
He's very open about that.
Yeah, he's very open about it. So there'd just be months without doing anything, you know, and then so you're just kind of like, this feels like it's time just to naturally move on, you know?
Right.
And at the time, we were pitching a lot of stuff to networks. So like, because they're like, whoa, these guys blew up.
Yeah, you guys,
like within a year or two, they went from like 100,000 to 10 million, you know?
A lot.
So we were, you know, we're pitching shows. Like I'm like drafting up treatments, and we're like pitching to like, at the time Spike was at Spike TV, MTV, TBS, CW. We're pitching like reality shows. We're pitching documentaries.
And YouTube is still king, but you guys were a big deal.
Yeah. And we met with like Russell Simmons was like, yo, what? Because we were we were on the real, like we were getting like 1 million every couple months. Every couple months we're hitting 1 million, you know? Wild. So these guys, like I remember Yusuf and I were invited to Russell Simmons like little production, all def digital.
Yeah.
And we were in this room, and he had like Russell had like the head of NBC development, and the guy was like, you guys are getting more views per like video than we get like as in a day for our different shows, so you know? Wild. And they're like, I pitch us like on the spot. And we were both like,
we're funny.
I didn't come because, you know, like now, like once you're a little bit established, you know what these general meetings are like. Like you come in ready in case you have like a treatment, an idea, a pitch, you know. We were like 23, 24. We're like, we literally like just like walked in, and we were like, we were just here to say what's up and take a selfie. We didn't know this was like a general meeting to pitch to like the NBC dude and Russell Simmons. So we would always be in these like at the time we were pitching all these things, and some things would move forward and then it wouldn't, and then Yusuf would withdraw, you know. So at that point I was like, look, MTV's steady, and it helps me move into traditional media. Like I went to film school to be in like more mainstream traditional media versus like YouTube was great, you know. YouTube was the stepping stone into traditional media, like television and film. And that's why we stuck out for so long, because I was like, oh, one of our projects, we're going to sell something, you know, and I'll be able to go on and direct and, you know, whatever we sell. Once I noticed like, oh, there's no future in this, you know, like I don't think I think we hit the ceiling, and I think that's it.
Yeah.
I had to move into MTV, and, you know, and I did that for like a few years, and then I quit MTV because I was like, I want to like start my own production company, get back into production. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I'm like, MTV was a 9 to 5, you know, like some days we'd be on set. Most of the days we're in office, and I felt like I wasn't doing anything creatively. So I started this podcast with a friend of mine, Asif, and we called it The Apartment, where we would film it in my apartment.
Yeah.
And we were just like, all right, who do you know? Who do I know? Let's reach out to all the influencers we know. and we did that for like a couple of years, and then I just got tired of talking to influencers. I was like, you know how it is. Like some influencers I had to act like they were doing like groundbreaking shit. Like, bro, you did this Vine, and in my head, I'm just like, this is the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life, man. But it is what it is. They had a following.
Right.
We're playing the game.
Right.
So, yeah, so we did that. And then I started my production company, and I was doing a lot of like commercials, documentaries, and just promo videos and some other like work that I was doing into film. And then COVID hit. And then I was like, all right, well, it is what it is. Production came to a halt.
A screeching halt.
Yeah, and this was like years later because I left MTV at like 2017, and then MTV calls back and they're like, "Hey, we just want to check in if you're interested in coming back."
There are a lot of people watching TV right now.
A lot of people are watching Ridiculous. Ridiculousness got renewed for like 5 years. We have a bunch of new shows coming up. We have like 3 different spin-offs of Ridiculousness, Messiness, Adorableness, all the nisses, deliciousness was a thing,
It's like a food show?
Yeah, it was just like food fails,
MTV. Oh, never mind.
Yeah, and it was hosted by Tiffany Amber Thiessen, from Saved by the Bell, if you remember that show.
Of course I do. She never ages. Fantastic.
So they're like, all the work is 100% remote. We work till like 3 p.m. a day. Like I was like, oh, and health, and this was COVID.
And health insurance.
I'm like, health insurance, COVID? Because I thought, honest to God, I was like, if I get COVID, I'm gonna die. And I'm not someone that has like health problems, but I'm like, I'm gonna die if I get COVID.
It was a crazy time.
Yeah, so I was like, yeah, sign me up. Because I remember I was like, if I go to the hospital, how am I gonna pay this medical bill?
That's a real question, yeah.
And once I got that health insurance, and I was like, yeah, and remote, I was like, sign me up. So yeah. I went back to Ridiculousness, and I've been doing that. So that's the journey from infancy and trauma.
Infancy and trauma.
to now, man.
It's wild because first of all, like you've been doing this for a bit, but you're so like early in your career, and that there's so much more. There's so much more to come. And so now, like, what's a day of your life like? Is it still remote at Ridiculousness when you say that you work on it? What exactly does that mean? Are you doing the same stuff you did with Fusi, where you're like stunting things and filming it, or?
No, yeah. So with Ridiculousness, a lot of logistics. Like we're.
Oh, you work in logistics.
Yeah. I work in logistics. So we're prepping the show before we film it. So we're doing a lot of like, packaging and like reaching out and clearing videos that we're going to use because it's a clip show. We grab clips from the internet.
Oh, so you don't even record them yourself?
No. Yeah, it's whatever we find. Like, so we have like a tier system where we have the writers will come up with categories, and they'll be like, okay, for example, one of the categories I'm working on right now, I didn't come up with this, the writers did. It's called puppy pooter or something. Dogs get farted on.
Wait, and they just like scan TikTok and the internet
and so the writers are like, hey, we have a category called like puppy pooters or puppy farts, or like where dogs get farted on.
Okay.
So we have like segment producers, and our producers, we look through the internet to find videos of dogs being farted on. Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Back in the day it was Vine, Facebook. And then we try to reach out to those people. And
they have to give you consent. You can't just post it?
Yeah, we got to grab consent.
Interesting.
But that there's like a little loophole in there.
Yeah, I feel like there probably is, because there's a lot of images on the internet I see all over the place.
Yeah, sometimes if you can't find the original source,
you just put like an @
Yeah, and if that original source is so old, like if this is uploaded in 2008 and like 10 people have seen it, and there's a legal loophole that they've kind of figured out.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
It's so interesting, because it's effectively like a curated TikTok feed, but like the producers, the algorithm.
So that is why the show, like, because people are like, who's watching?
It's the same
Ridiculous.
People.
It's older boomers and Gen X's who don't have TikTok, who don't have Instagram Reels, and it's curated TikTok.
And they're like, this is hilarious.
Yeah, and it's commentary. So we looked at like a map. Again, don't quote me on this, but I looked at a map. I don't know. It's not the official Ridiculousness statistics, but it was like a lot of like Southwest, states, a lot of states. And it's like not to be political, but it's like a very politically indifferent show. Like you could be a progressive communist anarchist and enjoy it, and also be like a right-wing Trumper, and you can be like, oh, this is just objectively funny.
Yeah.
You know, like
I can turn my brain off for a little bit and watch
some
this
dude
dog.
getting, so it's like a show where it's like MTV, it's like it's a
Yeah.
safe show. There's no political commentary. It appeals to everyone.
Yeah.
You know, and especially there's an older demographic that actually still watches cable television, you know?
Yeah.
Because I don't know anyone that has.
You know, it's
cable
funny. 2 weeks
television.
ago, our internet shut down during the rain, and I turned it on.
Yeah.
And I had to like figure out the channel that my kids could watch something on. I found PBS. It was actually really great. I was like, damn, I need to bring this back. But so
did you grow up on so you had no TV?
Nothing. We lived in the mountains too, so we didn't even get like cable. We had nothing.
I'm sorry, where did you grow up? Please inform me.
San Antonio Heights. So pretty much Upland, California, Claremont, Pomona. It's like the foothills.
Oh, okay. Very, very deep inland.
Yeah, but if you get like a few hundred feet up in the air, there's no cable at all. You don't even get channels 1 through 11. So we had no TV.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn, you guys must have been like a reading literate.
We played outside a lot. Yeah. So are you like, okay, so you've been doing this like blooper genre, so to speak. Does that pigeonhole you into bloopers, or like how do you see this developing?
Yeah, so I'm sorry, do you mind if I check text every once in a while?
You're allowed to check text. By the way, he has dinner plans, and because I sprung this podcast on him,
no,
we're pushing his dinner plans back.
Chilling.
So he's allowed to check text.
I got dinner plans. I got a flight out.
Oh, yeah,
I'm going right. I got my bags literally packed and ready to.
You're not gonna miss your dinner or your flight, right?
Man, I'm chilling. And if I do,
all of this,
I'll
for
grab
the
the next.
You
flight.
guys are so lucky.
I'll grab the next flight. But yo, you gotta check out Pisa Palace. It's like
in Silver Lake.
Inshallah,
I'll grab my passport,
Indian, Italian
go to
fusion. Oh Lord, come on, man! It ain't that far. It ain't that far.
That actually sounds really good.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah. So I was saying, if you're in bloopers, does that become like a thing?
And I remember when I was in film school, one of our post-production or editing teacher was talking about being pigeonholed in Hollywood, and he was like, you know, you wanted to become an editor and work in film and television.
Yeah.
And you kind of take the first gig you get, you know, because you're hungry, you're desperate. You're like, I got a rent to pay.
Right. So I'll film these random videos.
So I remember my editing teacher was like, he started working in reality TV, like the trashy reality TV days, you know? Yeah. And he was like, once you kind of do that, and then you're offered another show to do reality TV, then you're bumped up from an assistant editor to an actual then you're in reality television.
Gonna make it to like Yellowstone.
Yeah, no one's gonna be like, oh, you did 4 seasons of like the Toddlers and Tiaras. You edited that. Do you want to edit an episode of Game of Thrones? You know?
Yeah, that's so fascinating.
So I was like very concerned of being like pigeonholed. Yeah. So that's why I like. So I work 8 to 3. I love that our hours are very like condensed.
You're like East Coast too.
Yeah, and so and they're very flexible and like understanding where I'm like, hey, I have a shoot next week. I have a shoot all week. Yeah. So I'm still able to do production, still able to like, I love commercials. I love doing small little promo videos, commercials, because it's like you take like 30 seconds and you try to tell a story within that, you know, and it's just very fast. And
they also pay well, I think.
Yeah.
Is that true about commercials?
Yeah. Yes and no. Yes and no. Yes and no. Yeah. Some do. Some it's like, you know, I was told to take a job on the 3 B's. No, wait, what was it? It's one of these like sayings.
Are you gonna tell me payment doesn't matter?
No. Damn, I don't know. It was basically like whatever initials I was told to think of. It was you take it for your real.
Okay.
Like,
your portfolio.
Yeah, like this is not gonna pay well, but I'm gonna take it because it will build. Like, I want to go into this lane.
Right.
You take it because it pays well, or you take it because you're gonna develop a relationship with the client.
Right. You have more business.
You're like, all right, this client's paying me crap. The work's not that exciting, but if I work with this person, they're gonna be able to like, you know, in the future down the line. So I can't remember, but so a lot of times I'll take like a gig where it's like the pay is awful, but I'm like, look, I know it's going to like pay off down the line, you know?
Yeah.
It hasn't happened yet.
We're not down the line.
Yeah, we're not down the line yet.
The beginning of the line.
But yeah, you're right. Like I've been in the industry I moved to LA in 2012.
Like a decade, let's say.
Yeah, it's been exactly 10 years. And, you know, I've I worked in animation for a bit with Nickelodeon. I worked in YouTube for a bit. I worked at MTV. I did my own production company. And now I'm like, then I did like a little stint with HBO. I was a writer's assistant on the show that we were developing or that they were developing, and they brought me on. And I'm an awful writer. Like, I can direct well, I can edit, I can great cinematography, but like when it comes to writing and like understanding story structure and blah and character arc and emotional, that's not my forte, you know? I can like write things I have like, you know, like this the story I was telling you about. There's some stories that just like it just comes out.
Right.
But if you're like, hey, I have this idea, let's flush it out, I'm not the guy to look to,
Yeah, I
you
hear
know?
you.
But if you're like, I have this written, can you shoot this?
Got
Say
you.
less. I got you.
Yeah.
So we're in like the writer's room, and they're pitching like great like thematic arcs in this show and this character. And I'm like, what if he has a red hat? And they're like, we love it. Red hat. Put that in. That's my only contribution, you know? They're like talking about like the themes of this episode and the tone. And I'm like, what if they're running instead of walking? And they're like, that's it. Love it. We're running.
That's the feeling we need.
Yeah. So I realized quickly, I'm like, all right, I ain't cut out to be a writer.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, you know, I dabbled in all these kind of fields, and now I'm like, all right, I know the direction I want to go in now. Now it's like time to be an adult, time to put on my big boy pants and like move towards the final goal of like getting more into like longer form content directing, you know? Because I've directed smaller things here and there, but nothing where I'm like, this is it, you know? So and I think within the next year or so, I'm going to be taking the real steps to move forward, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes like I'll find like inspiration in very strange places, where I'm like, I need to make this into a film, you know? Like, I'll tell you about it later because it is
too early to reveal.
Yeah, man. I was actually I was reading the Quran one day during Ramadan, like in a long time, and I was like, and from like a writer, like, because at the time I was in this writer's room and we're pitching jokes and this and that. I'm reading it, and I'm like, some things just stand. I'm like, oh, that would be a funny bit, and I came upon this one thing on like divorce, and it was like in the first chapter where they're like, if a man and wife are married and they divorce, they can remarry and then they can divorce it. But like the third time,
it's a no.
The third
We're
time,
calling it.
So in the verse it says the third time the woman has to marry someone else, divorce that person, and then that person can. And in my head, I'm like, yo, this is like a toxic relationship where it's like intense love, breakup, intense love, breakup, and then they're like, oh, and the imam's like, yo, I can't do this.
But I know this guy.
But there's a loophole. So from there, I was like, and I pitched it to a place, and they're like, you know what? They're like, that's a decent rom-com. Write the script, and you know, we'll fund it and make it. And I'm like, oh man, I gotta write, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, like you'll read things, and you're like, oh, this is a interesting concept to explore, especially like, you know, I've been in nothing but toxic relationships, you know.
Okay.
Well, clearly it hasn't worked out, you know.
we can definitely go down this route. You know,
but and I'm like, that's something to unpack in a film, you know, and like especially within like, you know, within a lot of communities, especially in like the Muslim immigrant experience or like second generation Muslim Americans. There's this veneer of like everything is good.
We were talking about this.
Yeah.
It's our job to fix the PR mess that our faith has been in.
But even
so we're perfect.
Yeah. Even within communities, you know, even within your local masjid, your local community, no one wants to let you know like we're having problems at home. It's always like you show up, very Stepford Wives, very like everything is great. Everything's great. You know, like we never fight. And, but you, like the stories I've heard, the things I've experienced where I'm like, we're messy people.
Of course, we're human. Humans are messy. They go through things.
And it's like, let's explore that, you know?
But, you know, we overcompensate. We were talking about this earlier. Like, we've been so defensive as a community because we've had to be that we overcompensate with perfection.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a reality that we deal with. But, like, our generation, and it's funny. I was just watching a TikTok. I would lie and say I'm reading a paper. That's what I usually say when I watch TikTok. But I'm just going to say it. I was watching a TikTok, and it was by a Gen Zer who was like, the difference between Gen Z and millennials is that Gen Z is disorganized.
Am I allowed to prop my feet up?
You're allowed to. The viewers can't see it, but that's okay. He's
Okay.
very comfortable in my studio.
Just gonna stretch.
Stretching.
Just gonna
getting ready
stretch.
for his flight in like 20 minutes. But they're saying that like Gen Z works really hard and they act like they don't put a lot of effort into looking imperfect, and millennials like are put just as much effort in but are really into polish, right? So like the younger generation, I'm acting like I'm an anthropologist, they like the imperfection. They're all about talking about mental health. They're all about these things that, like, at least for millennials, maybe people are like, well, I'm not really going to talk about my anxiety or depression because it's taboo. Right. And so I think that need and those, by the way, on TikTok, when I do post videos, when I get messy or talk about my vulnerabilities, always does better.
Yeah.
And like, there's a reason why, for anybody who's on TikTok, Hailey Bieber's getting dragged right now. The only reason I know that is because of TikTok. And she's like this, perfect, beautiful, mean girl.
Are you team Selena, or do you even want to open? Okay.
Yeah, so, of course I am. And if you're not, you need to stop listening and unsubscribe.
That's funny. No, 100%. I think there is that like vulnerability aspect that people are kind of drawn to, and that's the beauty about TikTok versus Instagram. You post your highlights. You post, I'm on vacation. Here's some of the best pictures, like nice. You edited the color a bit,
and my life is perfect.
Yeah,
it's back to that.
And they highlight, like, Instagram. You highlight your highlights. Right. TikTok glorifies the mundane. Yeah. Like, get ready with me while I work at Dunkin' Donuts. Right. And that has like 100,000 likes because people are like, you feel like you're a part of this, like, right. Like very mundane lifestyle, but it's been, like, it's a very real, like, you pull back the layers. And, you'll see people comment, be like, my Dunkin' isn't like there. That's exactly like mine. Yeah. And you're like, oh, there's like this other layer of connection. So I'm totally with you. I'm being very cognizant of time. No, dude, don't even look at the time. We're chilling, man. We usually go for an hour. So we'll go. Look, 15 minutes. Let me just check these dinner reservations. As long as the dinner reservations, okay. Okay, my friend's gonna go and get a table. Oh, forget that. By the time they order the food, I like to roll up where like the food's on the table, and they must be treating you well at ridiculousness out here with your Prince behavior, but that's okay. No, that's just being the only child in an immigrant Muslim family. Only child? No, only male. Oh, male in the family. That felt like a little bit of a slip. I'm sorry, it was. Yeah, I hope your sisters listen and talk to you about this. Yeah, I have two sisters, a younger sister and an older sister. Mashallah, middle child, but again, only boy, so slightly elevated. Spoiled. It's funny. I have two girls and a boy, and my boy's in the middle. You saw them because So along with this mess of me deciding I wanted to record in person, I have a studio. He came on time, and my kid was awake, and so I was like, I literally opened the door and I was like, "Play with my kids, dude. I'll see you in 10 minutes," and I just disappeared. No shade, and nothing. I personally don't like kids, and when you're like sit in this room alone with them, the panic I felt, honest to God, because I literally stood there. I'm like, how do I play with these kids? Because like if I like see my niece and nephew, I tell my sister I love these kids. 2 hours max with them. We have nothing in common. Yeah, so like but with since they're blood in their family, I can be a little play aggressive. Like I can throw. Kids are like durable. They're like rubber band balls. My kids are very. Like I can throw them around and they bounce off the couch and they're having the time of their life. I just met your kids. I'm not gonna toss them around. And I'm surprised you sound like you were low key. You guys sound like you're having a lot of fun. I'm literally sweat. I've done like TEDx talks. I've done like talks at universities. I've done fine, but I'm sitting in front of two kids and I'm like, you guys want to play a game? I did not even say hello. I was like, I have to go. My baby was crying. I just threw in the room. Hadi wasn't even there. Hadi was like, take care of stuff. You're like, play with them for 10 minutes. And I'm just like, so you guys go to school? And I text Hadi. I'm like, somebody's in the living room. Go out when you can. Say hi to him. Yeah, it was, I feel like it went well. I sound like you're having fun personally. Because I remember when I'm with my niece and nephew, if I want them to because once they're hyper, they're hyper. Yeah, they were out of control when you came. And I remember because I do this with my niece and my nephews, where I'm like, if I ask them just questions about their friends in school, they just start rambling. And they just start. Oh, they so just you've heard about Riley and Tyson, and they're telling me all about their friend. Yeah, I'm like, oh, do you have who's your team? And then I'm like, do you like your friends? And then blah, 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 and they'll tell you all the drama, and I'm like, all right, man. All right, this is how, you know.
Longest 10 minutes he ever
Oh my
had.
gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Nevertheless, they're asleep now, and so is my baby.
Sweet kids. Very
Mashallah.
sweet. Your daughter kept spraying your son with a bottle,
Oh God.
and it said stroller on it.
I'm
And
like,
I
yeah.
was worried that it wasn't. I was like, is that? I hope it's water.
It's water. It's the
Okay.
water for. I label everything. It's the water bottle that goes in the stroller, so it doesn't end up somewhere
I thought it was
else.
like a stroller
It's not a
disinfectant
stroller cleaner
because she
No,
kept
no.
spraying it in his eyes, and
Oh,
I'm like, I don't know what to do. You know, I'm like,
oh
how do I
gosh.
tell her that?
You got yeah. I mean, you'd
Yeah.
think you'd learn some triage after doing all those like blooper films and
Oh,
stuff
no,
or
man.
whatever.
I should have recorded it, you know?
Yeah, actually, you probably gotten views.
Yeah.
People like them.
But yeah, so that's the world of like being in, you know, in film, and it's also like tough because like a lot of ideas and projects I want to do, because like for example, this idea of divorce, you know,
Mhm.
if I don't like articulate it very clearly, Muslims just love to go 0 to 100. Like that's blasphemous. Like, you know, like they, you know, like, so I got to be very articulate about like, this is the idea I want to do. Cause you know, like I was telling you, we talk about Gen Z being this very progressive thing, but I'm a hater. I look at Gen Z as boomers. I call them Zoomers. Gen Z are Zoomers. They are literally, we've gone full circle where like boomers do nothing like, they've gone from like this very like progressiveness into this like they've come back into conservativeness,
Right.
you know, where I'm like, because I'm like, you know, especially like I told you about my interaction with these like Muslim college students where they like were doggy piling on me. They were like, I for the listeners, I had this interaction with these like Gen Z college students. I was needing their help, and I was talking about like sexual emotional and spiritual abuse and sexual abuse within the Muslim community, and these students were kind of denying that it happens, and they were saying that like, you know, it's the person's fault for, they were making all these excuses, but they were using, so this is what I'm trying to say is that I was in college 13, 14 years ago, and the talking points that I would hear then, I'm still hearing now.
Right.
Like I'm like nothing like I feel like nothing has changed. I feel like millennials have like gone through this understanding. We've been through the Tumblr discourse, the Twitter fights, and the discourse. A lot of these Gen Zs are like, I feel like they've gone, they're not as progressive as we think.
Well, they're wounded. Like Muslims as a whole, we're a wounded, defensive community who've had too many people speak on behalf of us.
Yeah.
So we're like defending this invisible thing all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and they'll go through it. They'll go through their life experiences and land where they land. And in terms of, you know, it's interesting that you talked about your next leg of your journey as your final destination or your next step, because I think that I'm always fascinated when I talk to creatives, and you alluded to this a bit with your YouTube work, in that people who are in the YouTube or the influencing or content creation space, their career can go in so many ways, right?
Yeah.
And like YouTube comes and goes. Like you have to work really hard to make yourself a household name for a long. We were talking about somebody we both stand, Aisha Haroon, who's like somebody who people will ride and die for forever.
Yeah.
But not everybody's an Aisha Haroon, right?
Yeah.
There are people who have their highs and they got to get on Instagram, and when that's over, they got to get on TikTok, and like you're constantly chasing this image and this brand, and so you're kind of making the transition from this short form work to long form work.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. Would you have done anything differently?
Yeah, you know, I think I would have studied writing like intensely. You know, because I was like, I'm a director. I'm studying directing. I majored in I focused in directing, and which is fine. But when you get to like quote unquote Hollywood in the entertainment industry, you realize this is a writer's town, and the power of the pen is very powerful. You know, like if you're a writer director, great. If you're just a script, like if you can write, you're established. Not established, but it's easier to find work, pitch, because if I want to work on a TV show, they're like, it was funny because when I was applying for this HBO thing, they're like, send us some of your samples. I did. The executive producer a couple of days called me, and she was like, hey, we looked over your stuff, because I feel like I won the job just by personality versus work, because we did an interview,
Huh.
everything was great, chemistry was great. So she was like, yeah, we looked at your scripts, and look, I'll be on, like, very straightforward, like, we'll be honest, it wasn't good. You're not a great writer, but it's not your fault. We will help you, like, help you understand structure a little bit better and this and that. And she was basically like, look, you're not great because you haven't had the experience.
When you need to get trained.
Yeah, and we'll help you with that. And I was like, I'm all for that, But I was like, ouch, but yeah,
But
you're right.
writing is a muscle. Because
Yeah.
when I was younger, I used to write a lot and I used to be very good at writing. And now I'm not very good at writing.
Yeah.
I am better at talking. I spent a lot of time practicing how to communicate. So like I agree that it is a muscle.
Can I ask you a question? What do you feel about shy people?
How do I feel about them?
Because you're talking like talking.
I'm learning.
Communicating.
I'm envious of the fact that they are probably better listeners than me. I've nailed talking, but I cannot listen.
Passionately hate shy people.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Like from, I've spent so many times, or like people that want like coffee and chat and meet up, whatever, catch up, and you meet with someone who's just like,
love is not the opposite of hate; it's indifference.
Nah, man.
There's something there. Maybe you're like me and you want to be a better listener.
No.
This is something I'm working on.
Because when you're not the shy person, all the work falls on you to like get the.
To be like a little bit of a circus
You're
monkey.
just pulling teeth. You're like, you're not like, this is a two-way conversation, like, and the thing is, I'm naturally very shy, like you said, but like you said, it's a muscle. You got to work on it.
Interesting.
Like I'd be thrown into very awkward situations with my parents would be like, go talk, like whatever. You really have to like put in the effort to not be shy.
That's true, but there is the flip side of learning how to listen, because I'm naturally not shy. Never been shy. Never heard of her. That said, my Lord, it took me forever to learn how to listen. I always think I know the answer.
Oh, yeah?
And it turns out I don't. Awesome. Where can people find you?
No, we're chilling, dude. I'm not going anywhere. Okay, so the thing about like shyness, it's like you're saying that you're not a listener, because I'm like, I feel like you might be so like social and outgoing where you just want to like share your ideas, but like
my brain and mouth both work very fast.
Yeah,
so I'm just like going, and then I just crash and fall asleep.
I mean, did you find any like relief in like journaling?
If I can find consistency, I think I would. You see my desk. There's like, it's lifted. There's like 90 ways to take notes. I don't have one way to take notes. If I was able to consolidate that to one way, I think I'd be more effective. There's notes on that box. Why does the electric box have notes on it?
Yeah, I see sticky notes, man.
What do they say? I don't know. Oh my God, there's notes on my mirror. Oh my God.
Yeah, you're a sticky person, man.
There are notes everywhere.
This is like very ADHD.
There are notes on my... I think I'm ADHD.
Oh, 100%.
There are literally notes on my monitor.
Yeah, look at you.
Because my focus mode just turned off.
Yeah.
I probably have like 60 notes within eye distance.
Yeah, but like, if you read a note, because earlier when we were talking about this project I'm working on, I was taking notes, but I tried, and I've learned, because in the past I've written notes where like a week later I'm like,
no, I've done that where I'm like chicken leg.
Yeah.
Or it's like 649.
Yeah.
The worst is numbers, because I'm like, somebody 649?
Yeah.
Did I change my number to 649?
So if you look at any of these little Post-its,
no, I know I'm very thorough for that reason, because I know my memory. Okay. My notes are like very long. They're like I'm the type of person, I think we know this because we've texted, you'll never get one well thought out long message. You'll get like 90 spitball.
Can I ask you, how do you feel about when you texted me and you saw green bubbles? Did that trigger something?
Are we there? Are we that close to admit it?
I like, go for it, man.
It was strange.
All right, good.
Yeah, weirded me out a little
I hope it was jarring for you. I hope it made you feel a certain way.
It made me feel the same way, you wanted to make people feel when you embarked on the video journey.
Yeah, so thank you. Yeah,
and I haven't even seen your phone.
I love Androids. I love Samsung, and every time I text an iPhone person, they get upset, and a lot of my conversations have to go to WhatsApp.
Yeah, I wouldn't say upset, but it weirded me out.
It's like a very
and then you like them, and I think Apple does this on purpose.
It says
they make the reactions very uncomfortable.
Yeah,
because it'll just spit my message back to me like, I need liked.
Yeah,
okay.
So back like a couple months ago, when iPhone users would like my comment or my text, they would send us Android users like, like this message, but you don't know what they liked. So The roles have been reversed now.
Yeah, it was an interesting experience. I also like you're in film. You have a Mac.
Oh yeah, I use a Mac. I use a Mac.
Very strange to step
Yeah,
out of the ecosystem.
MacBook is great, but like Samsung, I've always had a Samsung tablet. I'm about to hop on a flight. I got my little Samsung tablet. Got my Samsung earbuds.
Is this sponsored?
No, I wish, man. I really wish. Use my promo code Samsung Bro 123.
Did they send you here?
No. But yeah. So the thing about introvert or like very shy people, I just feel like to have a great conversation, be able to communicate, I think to have like I look at like talking and communication as like a dance, like a great conversation is a beautiful dance between two people. You exchange, I exchange, I build off something, you build off something, and it's like this beautiful fluid.
You're making it sound like a film where everybody thinks out loud.
What's hard? What's so hard about that? You got these thoughts in your head, just open your mouth. I
don't know, man. I open my mouth too much.
Dude,
there's a flip side. I'm in my listening era.
When does this get posted?
Day after tomorrow.
Oh, okay. So,
do I need to send it to your managers?
No. I was gonna make reference. I was hanging out with this friend in San Francisco the other month, and for like we were online friends. I finally meet them up in person, and I had this whole kind of day plan of like, oh, we're gonna like grab some lunch, grab some coffee, grab some dessert, walk around, chit chat. The second I was like, oh, I know this type of person. They were just like, they shut us down. Like on text, we were great, whatever, memes back and forth. It was a good friend. And then the second I got there, I'm like, oh man, all the rest of the night's just going to be on me.
But did you make the person uncomfortable? Did you stop to consider that maybe you made this person uncomfortable?
No.
Maybe your confidence made them uncomfortable?
Okay.
Maybe you had nothing to say that was interesting in real life? Was it your energy?
Okay, first of all.
This is a moment, if we're gonna play therapy on my white couch.
I'm incredibly interesting. And whatever I said must have, like, I'm not going to say something dull. I'm very self-aware. I know, like if I made them uncomfortable, that's very possible. I'm sure you'll meet like a bunch of people who like hate me, absolutely hate me.
Oh, interesting.
You'll be like, oh, I met with Ali Buj. That guy's in bull. And they're right. They're true. Like whatever they've said, they're like, they once said they made this one remark about me because I say what I'm thinking, which I shouldn't, like the thoughts come out. The intrusive thoughts.
You babysat my kid for 10 minutes. I have no such words for you. That's the most generous thing somebody's done.
Yeah, I'm grateful.
10 to 15.
But if you do encounter, because you will encounter someone that would be like, I freaking hate that guy. He said X, Y, and Z. Can I like upset? No, actually, no.
Where are we headed? You have a flight in like 43 minutes.
Yeah, I'm not going to upset your viewers, but I'll tell you off once we stop because I found it hilarious because it was a joke. But this, I'll tell you later. But I gotta just,
DM me on Instagram. I'll share the story.
Yeah. But anyway, so that I don't know how we got into this, but yeah, I've been in LA for 10 years, and I've had a fun journey. And I've gotten to explore different worlds, different communities.
Yep.
And honestly, that's kind of like, not to be like to sell a love story about Los Angeles, but like even within LA, there's so many, like we were talking about the other night. Oh my God, like I've been turned on to Hi-Ho ever since that night. I've been
There's
there.
no turning back.
I've been there 3 times.
That place is amazing.
We went there 2 weeks ago or something.
Yeah.
I've been there every week since.
It's impressive. It's incredible.
That pastrami, oh my God. I don't know why, because I don't like Muslim restaurants. Muslim halal spots, not for me.
Well, then you got onto Hi-Ho.
And then Hi-Ho's not Muslim owned though. It's just halal. No, I looked into it.
Oh. Wow, you're really a bit of an Islamophobe.
Oh my God. 2023 is my year of Islamophobia.
We did not say that. This is not sponsored by the pod.
I believe some Muslims, not all, should stay in their lane. If you're going to open up a restaurant, stick to the ethnic cuisine. Stick to your specialty. You'll have a lot of folks that will open up like a pizza shop. What do they know about pizza? And it's some of the worst halal pizza, y'all.
No, I've definitely been to like kebab places with like a hamburger on the menu, and you're like,
exactly. and I don't. And I'm sorry to the halal listeners and viewers that eat strictly Zabiha halal.
I already disagree with you. It's amazing.
They will tell you you got to try this taco place, bruh.
I think it was me. And it's Venice Tacos. You should all definitely go.
Do you only eat strictly halal?
I do.
Oh, well, awkward. This is very awkward. You'll tell me eat this halal taco spot. I'm like, bro, have you tried? Like, I'll list out all the taco spots. Those are your selection of food is very narrow. Where are you talking about the one on Venice Boulevard?
It's the best.
Like Venice and Overland.
Incredible.
It's good. It's cool.
Get out of here. Stop that. It's incredible. It's cool.
Bro, the day you decide to break and you want to have kogi tacos, I promise you'll be like, the sin was worth it. Astaghfirullah.
You guys, this is pre-Ramadan. Inshallah, God will cleanse me during Ramadan due to the sins I will accrue from this conversation.
A lot of people will visit, like a lot of Muslims in London, religious or not, are just like default halal zabiha because it's so accessible.
Yeah.
So when they come to LA, and I have to warn them, like there is halal options, but it's limited. It's not like London where you can go to like KFC and it's halal. Yeah. So I'm like, just heads up. So a lot of folks come here, they're like, we're just gonna hang our halal hat up just for the weekend, explore a little bit. We're not eating pork, stuff for law. We're Muslim at the end of the day,
My goodness.
But they'll be like, what happens in LA stays in LA.
Well, now the whole podcast knows, so technically it's global.
Man. Well, I haven't exposed anyone in particular, but kogi tacos for my non-halal eaters. But yeah, Venice tacos are not. Poppy churros.
You told me about that. I haven't gone yet.
Poppy tacos and churros.
I'll take my kids.
Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff.
It's not too far.
But yeah, that's but like we were saying, in LA, there's a lot of communities you can explore, a lot of niches, anything that you're kind of into.
It's pretty incredible.
There's something for that. If you're into like pottery and ceramics, there's pottery and ceramics. If you're into like jazz and music, you got that. If you're into like hip hop, there's a punk scene. There's, like I was telling you, I've been exploring this very niche, like underground independent wrestling scene.
Yeah.
Very odd, but like I love diving into these, and and I feel like I wouldn't really be exposed to these, but because of like sometimes some filming things will take me to some places. I remember I was at this place and there's this, like, I had to film this one night. That's like these DJs at this place. And there was like a literal, like real life Step Up. I felt like I walked into a Step Up movie where they're like dance crews battling and it was very organic. And I was like, this is the weirdest thing I've experienced. Yeah. But because of my career, I've been able to I've been very fortunate, to have these opportunities and be able to explore. And I think when I was younger, I wanted to get into film because people were like, oh, you get to explore the world, you get to travel, you get to do all this and that. And then it happens and you're like, oh my God, I'm actually traveling the world with my camera.
Yeah.
But then you quickly realize, this ain't as cool as
it's not all
the fantasy and the dream wasn't what it's made up to be. And
it's hard.
Then the logistics come in, and that honestly like people don't think about, like, all right, because I had to film in Afghanistan, took camera equipment, everything, for this project, for this organization that sent me out there. You're hauling like bags of camera equipment from your apartment to the airport. Then you're going from the airport to like this. And then it's not like you have your suitcase, then you have your camera lenses, then you have your tripod. You're like 4 or 5 bags and you're like struggling and you're going from house to airport to hotel to location. Then you're setting everything up, location, and then you're back at the hotel and you have no time to.
No.
By the time you get back to the hotel, you're like, I just want to sleep, man. I don't want to explore this town,
Totally.
And so like that dream, I was like, I'm done traveling.
That happens with work travel too. It's like so glamorized. By the time you get to your hotel, you're like, I want to sleep, order hotel food and go home.
Yeah.
So it's similar.
Yeah. And it's very lonely because once you're back in that hotel room, you're like, you're just alone.
Yeah.
And you're in different time zones,
right.
Or, whoever you call. So it's, at first it's fun, and then it quickly gets very exhausting and it's a very lonely place to be.
Yeah.
But I love it because I love the solitude,
Yeah.
But yeah. And now I feel like I must go. Oh yeah, we hit an hour.
There you go. 1 hour and 9 minutes. Where can people find you? Aside from hopefully in the air in 3 hours from now.
Man, it's been weird because I believe in the evil, like severely believe in the evil eye, and I've stopped posting on like social media because of it. Like anytime I post having a good time, instantly something happens.
You guys should know this has been a miserable experience.
I hope so.
I got you.
Thank you. But and yeah, anytime I'll like if I'm traveling, so now I have to do like later grams. Like I have to be gone a week. Like I was in Paris a couple months ago, or I never posted when I was there. I would film and record, and then right when I got back to LA, then yeah, and that really deterred me from posting. So like I've stopped posting on like my stories, on posts. Like I'll post once a year on Instagram, but they can find me at Baluch X, my last name, BALUCHX, on Twitter and Instagram.
I will add it to the show notes. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for making the time.
No, man, thank you.
Really excited. As somebody who has a sneak peek into his next project, cannot wait to share it out. It's going to be incredible.
Oh, I appreciate that.
So looking forward to it. And yeah, thanks for listening, guys.
Thank you.